Okay, so these are static page, as you can see. Now, in order to make this include a little bit of JavaScript function inside of this. First of all, there are two ways. There are just as we had CSS. You remember when we did CSS, we had inline styling, external styling, internal styling, and the rest of it. We have the same thing applicable to JavaScript. And write JavaScript code right inside of HTML. And you do that using your script tag. A tag called your script tag. When we're working with CSS, we use the style tag, or with JavaScript, to use the script tag. So let me include a script tag. So I will just run one example. This is a script tag. So my JavaScript code will be embedded inside the script tag, such that when this browser starts, it runs this code for me. And a first JavaScript code, let me run the alert function. The alert. Sorry, I'm still using my on-screen keyboard. I actually want to fix this, but in order to fix it, I need to install a new Windows, and I have so many plugins I've installed on this system. I just want to finish what I'm doing first before I start installing anything. That's why I still see me using this. And some of us might be wondering, where do you fix this?
It's fine, sir. Thank you.
It's just all right. So this is my alert. This alert is a JavaScript. It's a script that JavaScript will run. It's something that because HTML does not understand this script. So but JavaScript understands, especially since I've embedded it inside the script tag. So what it will do for me, it will pop out an alert on my screen saying something. If I refresh this page, see what happens. See an alert saying you are welcome. So it's running this first. If I click OK, it runs my HTML. So this is one way of embedding JavaScript. You can embed JavaScript right inside of HTML, as I just demonstrated now, as straightforward as that. And the second way is to include it as an external style, which is what is always recommended. Because, you know, as we see, as time goes on, your JavaScript syntax becomes very big. So if it becomes very big and you have, say, 1,000 lines here, it will make, okay, each time I click on it, it refreshes the page. It will make your work cumbersome, especially when you want to in the case of debugging or maintenance. So one of the principles in designing or software development is isolating every component as much as you can. But even in this time around, we're isolating languages. So we'll create a different file for JavaScript. I will create a different file for HTML. And we can now link them together as we did in the case of CSS. So these are the two ways in which you can embed your JavaScript. You can run your JavaScript on your browser. Either you embed it in your HTML directly, or you create a separate file for it and embed it inside. So if I create a separate file, I'll call the file, say scripts. Call the file scripts.js. So whenever you see .js, it means that it's expecting a JavaScript file. Just as we had .html for HTML, .js, .css for CSS. So this is expecting a JavaScript file. So having said that about this internal, so if I remove this, what I did here, if I remove what I did here, and I come here, I just drop it here. Now all I need to do is, for now it's not running. Let me remove this one. Okay. Okay, for now it wouldn't run, and it's not running because I haven't linked it with my HTML as we normally did with CSS. But in order for me to link it with my HTML, we use the script tag. We use the script tag to link with HTML, but written different from the way you write it, where you're embedding a JavaScript syntax or command inside of it. So in this case, what I need to do is just right before the closing body tag, right before the closing body tag, I include my script tag here. I include my script tag here. And I have an attribute called source. It's asking me the source of my is the source of the file. So I have to create a path for the file, which is this script. Then it can also add, in some cases, you see, once I just did it, it just ran immediately. In some cases, you have to write type, and you say text as JavaScript. It's good to include this because as you move on with modules and stuff, so you need to. So this is as simple as it gets. Not really complicated. What we just did here is creating a JavaScript file. First of all, we talked of embedding your JavaScript code inside the HTML code. Then we talked of separating it and linking them using an external JavaScript file. Then linking them up.
I thought you.
Okay, go ahead.
No, sorry, it wasn't for you. Sorry, it was a mistake.
Okay, so linking them up using a script tag written in this order. So that is just basically what you do. So right inside the script.js is where you have all your JavaScript code. All your JavaScript code inside the script.js. All right, so having said that, I would like to move on to the next thing. One thing I would like you to do is any topic we cover in JavaScript, please and please, if there is something you're missing or you don't understand, call my attention back. You know the way JavaScript works. JavaScript is very tricky. It starts with the small bits. If you understand those fundamentals, those small bits, it helps you a lot when you start dealing with complex things. But if you look at these small ones and say, this one is nothing, trust me, at the end of the day, you might you might discover that it's something. So please, if there's any syntax I write that is confusing to you, please call my attention back. Let me explain. That's why I would have loved the other persons to be around so that we don't drag us back. Because I know we're entering a terrain that's very interesting, but needs you to understand the concept from the very beginning. All right, so let me proceed. Hope we're clear with this one. What we've done so far, basically how to add.
Yes.
All right, so let's continue with the next step. Now, what I would like us to focus on today is to get the types of, okay, before I do that, in JavaScript, there's something we call declaring variables. Declaring variables. Now, variable declaration in JavaScript. This is simply giving name to items in JavaScript. For instance, I know David, you designed a website that has to do with education, for instance. Now, what if on your website you want to display the number of students in your school, for example? You want to display number of students in your school, and you want to also display number of teachers in your school. You want to display number of parents, number of students and number of teachers in your school. Now, if you need to show this on that website, you need to do something like, you come here, you need to do something like, this is our, let me just comment this out while I explore that. You need to do something like, say, number of students. Okay, if you come here and say, declare your, maybe you want to write it inside the P element. Okay, and you come here and say number of students. So maybe you're trying to tell somebody you have to see number of students, you have to see number of teachers. In this one, number of teachers. Okay. All right. So you've done this, and you need to put a figure to it, and that figure needs to be computed. that figure needs to be computed. Now, what JavaScript will do for you is to compute that figure. Maybe you enter into JavaScript because you don't need to manually, JavaScript has the ability to do 1 + 1 for you. You don't need to manually come and say, okay, you have 50 students today. You have 50 students today, and you manually come and update your website and put 50 plus. Maybe you have 50 students today, you put 50. Tomorrow you have a student, you have another student added to the school. You also come manually and update it. It's tasking. Well, you can come up with an algorithm. You can come up with something that calculates the number of students. You can say, okay, I have an initial number of students that will have a value called X. I can say my initial number of students is 50. And I have a value called X, future number of students. So what this algorithm will be doing for you is anytime this Y changes, it will update your future number of students. But see what you did, just as we normally do in mathematics. You say let number of future students equal to Y. Or let number of current students. Okay, in mathematics, we normally say let number of current students, equal to let number of current students dy or equal to dy. Let number of future students to be added bz. All this just like we do math. So it's the same thing with JavaScript. We have something called variable declaration. So you take the number of the total number of students in your class and you assign it a variable such that you don't need to be repeating this long word and using. Number one, and you don't need to be repeating the numbers as you want to make reference to that. You just need to pick the variable you assign those numbers to. So that variable in your HTML, if you bring that variable in HTML and put it here, so your HTML, now because your HTML is interacting with your JavaScript, it will now know that, okay, the value Y is represents something that was calculated in JavaScript. So it's called variable declaration, variable assignments. Now, in JavaScript, there are two ways of declaring variables. That's what we do in mathematics, that we say, let A be equal to number of students in the class, let B be equal to number of parents. That thing in JavaScript, we call it variable declaration. And there are two ways we declare variables in JavaScript. We declare variable using the let keyword and the const keyword. The let keyword, let like this, and const keyword. We also have another one, the var keyword, which is obsolete. You might see in some JavaScript code, you can still see var. Okay, let me before I go to const. We have number one called the let keyword, and we have the var keyword. The let and the var keyword are similar in behavior, but the var keyword is obsolete. Some browsers don't recognize the var anymore. So we'll stick with the let. I just made the first name because you still see some codes where they still have it. It's obsolete. They hardly use it again. We use the let. Now, what it does is we want to say current number of students in my class in the class as at today is equal to 50. All you need to do is to say let num of maybe STD students equal to 50. You've declared a variable called num of students. So that is what we call variable declaration in JavaScript. We declare variable using the let keyword and the const keyword. Now I'm looking at the let keyword. I'll tell you the difference between them shortly. We declare variable using the let keyword and the const keyword. The same thing using const keyword. Let me use const keyword to declare. Okay, what can I declare? Okay. Okay. Now, let's take, for example, you are a teacher in that class, or let me not say a teacher. We are looking at the school and okay, the name of the school. Yeah. Say const name of school. Name of school equals Just follow me. I will explain these things as we proceed. Because we are schools, for instance. Okay. Now, what I'm trying to say is that the name of the school is equal to Goya School. So what I will be doing is anytime I want to make reference to this string, Goya School, I just need to take this guy, call this guy. Let's see how it works. I just need to call this guy up. If I call it up, what it does for me is to tell me the name of the school. For example, let's do something. Now I want to do an alert. I want the alert to show Goya schools. Instead of typing Goya school, I can just type name of school, alert, name of school. Now let's see what happens here. So if I want to make reference to the variable, I just need to call the variable that it's assigned to. And once I call the variable, can you see Goya schools? But meanwhile, what I have inside my alert is name of school. So this is called variable declaration in JavaScript. How we declare variable. Those are the basic, those are two ways we declare variables in JavaScript. Declaring variables means you are storing this variable, you are storing this value. You're taking this value and you're storing it inside a name, so that with this name it will be recognized all through your code. Anytime you want to make reference to that value, you don't need to start typing the value or calling the value. You just need to make reference to the name, and it will tell you what, and it will display the value you want to be displayed. Is that making sense?
Sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, I think I missed it somewhere.
Okay.
Because I had a little distraction here. Please, the const.
Okay.
Name of school, Goya schools. How is it relating to the let definition?
No, they're not related. I just said these are two ways in which we declare variables in JavaScript. We declare variables using the let keyword and the const keyword. Now I said I will now tell you.
It's supposed to alert and display name of school, and the name of school is now Goya schools.
Okay, we say alert name of school. This is the alert name of school, Goya schools. Is that I really don't get your question. Can you go again?
I'm trying to find the relationship. You're just okay. You're telling us this because I got the let number of students in the school be 50.
Okay.
And
okay. The variables are not related for now. Let me comment this out. Okay. This one has nothing to do with this one. What I was trying to explain is to tell you the two ways in which we declare variables in JavaScript. I have declared two variables here. I have declared the name of the number of students in a school and the name of the school.
Okay.
But what I'm alerting is only the name of the school. Of course, if I want to include number of students in the school, I can also include it here, number of students. To also alert the same thing. The two of them now. Let me see. Okay. Okay, let's alert. Okay, so now it's alerting 50. They're not related. This one does not depend on this. It's just two different variables. I declared two different variables, but I used different declaration pattern to declare them. I use let for one and I use const for one. And I want to tell you why. When the question should be asked is why did I use let in one and why did I use const in one?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Now,
sir, sorry, sir. This var, the var you said is absolute. Is also part of types of variables, declaring variables.
Exactly, types of variables.
Use it.
And it behaves the same way with let.
Okay.
To an extent, but it also has its own limitation. Okay, let me tell you the difference between let and const now, which was what I was driving to. Now, if you notice what I did, when I was declaring the name of the school, I deliberately used const because I know the name of the school does not change. It's either you leave the school, but it hardly changes. Names of some most schools have been there for 100 years or so, thereabouts. Now, if you want to declare a variable that is likely not to change all through the course of your work, you use const. But if you want to declare a variable that has a tendency of changing, why I use let here is we have 50 students today. What if they bring 10 more students tomorrow? Which means this my number of students has to change. So when you declare a variable with the keyword let, it means that in your work, you can change it somewhere else, and the latest value will override the previous value. For example, here now, maybe tomorrow they bring more students in the school, and the number increases to 100. All I need to do now is number of students. Number of students in this case becomes 100. See, my alert has changed. You will no longer see 50 again, because there is a new number of students. It has been updated to 100. So whenever you want to use a variable that is likely to change in value, you use the let keyword to declare the variable. But if you're declaring a variable that is likely to remain constant all through the both development stage and that has a tendency of remaining constant all through its lifespan, you use the const keyword. If I attempt to want to change this name of school, it will throw an error. Why? Because I use the const keyword to declare it. Name of school. Let's see. I don't know if the error, we can see the error here. That's on the console. Let's do something. Let's refresh us. See, it doesn't show us anything because it has detected an error. I will show you how to find out because as you see, when it throws an error, it didn't show you anything on the browser, or it displays something on the console. I don't want to rush it. I just want to take it step by step. So for it not to show anything, it means that something is not right somewhere. Because I declared this as const. So it's telling me that you declared it as const, it is not supposed to change. But if I change this to let's, and see, it now displays Brighton. So you use the let keyword in variable declaration whenever you declare a variable that you are not likely to change in the course of your work. But if you know you're likely to change that variable, use the let if you're likely to change it. But if it's not likely to change, use the const. Just as the name implies, constant means it doesn't change. It doesn't change. So is that clear, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, any question from your end on this?
Not really, but the way the variables and everything is written here, that's the syntax of writing this JavaScript variable declaration, Abi?
Yeah, it's as simple as it gets.
Okay.
The JavaScript recognizes this let keyword. It knows that it's a JavaScript. It's a keyword that is registered in JavaScript. So once it sees let, it knows what you want it to do. What you know, it knows that you're saying, please take this value called 50 and store it in memory. Create a memory space called number of students and store this value called 50 inside. Then as time goes on, store it in the temporary memory such that it will change tomorrow to something else or anytime to something else. So JavaScript understands this thing. So this is a basic JavaScript syntax. So we'll graduate from here into the more complex ones, but I just want us to get this one first. Let's know we've understood it and it's clear for us. So we've done how to add we've done using our scripts inside your HTML file, and we've done how to attach it from an external script file. We also did how to declare variable using your lets and your const keywords, variable declarations. So any question on this while I move on, before I move on to the next?
Okay, sir. One last question. Can we make use of the two together?
Yes, you must make use of the two together. There are cases in your, like the example I was giving, I was citing. You did a design for a website, and you want to maybe, okay, you might not have a reason to start to change the name of the school. I'm just saying, I want to calculate the total number of students in the school. You can use your let and assign it, and we'll see that as time goes on. You can use the two together. That's just it. But and you always use the two together. There are situations where you have variables that you want to store as constant permanently, and there are situations where variables that will be changing with time. So just follow me along like this. You know one thing, the way it's done is, I'll teach you, you learn the bits. Just make sure you understand them. Then when we start using them, you now see that they will not make sense together. So if you want to start, if you might be thinking, okay, how are we going supposed to use this? Where is supposed to go? Just understand that this is how you declare variable, and this is what it is. And from there, we move on to other things. All right. So are we clear on this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Another thing I also like us to look into is the naming convention in JavaScript. Naming convention when declaring variables. If you notice, when I was naming number of students, naming convention is done in camel case, meaning that if you're starting, just as I think I explained it before now, if you're starting with a word, the first letter of the word will be a small letter. If it's more than one word, the next one can be capital, then just like that, just like number of students. We don't name our variables like this. We don't write something like this. Maybe you want to say number of students, and now do something like num of or something, or we don't use hyphen when naming variables. See, it's even telling me that there's an error somewhere. So we don't do this in declaring variables. And also, you don't declare variables with numbers. You don't start like this. Maybe 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Then you say STD students. Okay. Rather, you can don't do this. But if you can do let students 1, 2, 3, which is also acceptable. 50, which is also acceptable. Okay. So this is the naming convention. You don't use hyphen, you don't use numbers first, you don't use hyphens or anything, but just begin with a letter. That's the pattern. Begin with a letter. Okay. Then also another important thing I would like to point out is when working with your JavaScript, there's a rule I just remembered now. Okay, as one, I remember it again. Okay, I remember it as time. So you don't name it like, you can name like this as we name here. It's fine. Okay, another thing also worthy of note is when declaring variable using the let. Now, you can declare a variable without assigning a value to the variable when using let. For instance, my number of students, I can do like this, say, number of students, just say let number of students, and I leave it at that. I say let number of students. I've not declared any variable. I've not assigned a value to it yet. Then I cannot go ahead and assign a value later. It's also permitted. What this is doing is to create that space in memory, but the space is right now empty. So as time goes on, you cannot decide to fill the space with any value you want to fill the space with. So you can also do this. First of all, assign a variable without declare a variable without assigning a value. Then later on, you assign a value, or you can declare and assign value altogether. It's also permitted in JavaScript. You can see it you may see it in some codes, and so don't feel surprised. You understand why we need to do this at times, but just follow me and don't get distracted. Don't let your brain tell you, why are we declaring variable first and assigning later? Where are we using this? It's just follow. Understand it as time goes on. All right. So another thing I would like to look at now is your data types in JavaScript. Very, very important. Data types in JavaScript. In JavaScript, we have 7 basic data types. 7 basic data types. We've looked at some already. The first one is number. Number comprises of integer, negative, positive, 0. They are all classified under the same category. Like what we did, number of students, we assigned a number to this number of students. So first one is number. Types of, variable types in JavaScript. First one is number. I'll just put them here in comments. Number. Next one is strings. Okay. Hope you can still hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue. So we're looking at the data types. We've talked of numbers, then we'll move to string. We have the string data type. Now the string data type is, want to write it inside either a double quote or a single quote. Just as we did here, this is a string. This is a string. If you remove the double quote and single quote, it doesn't recognize it as a string anymore. So this is a string. So if you want to assign a string, if you want to assign a string value to a variable, it must be either in double or single quotes. But it must be in quotes. So that is how JavaScript knows that this is a string. So even if you have, let me copy something from this side. Let's say you want to display paragraph, a whole full paragraph, all these paragraphs, it must all be inside. Okay, must all be inside. Okay, so you can see. So that's the paragraph I just copied. It's not inside of this string. JavaScript does not recognize that it's a string. Sometimes it will treat it as a normal variable. Maybe you're trying to declare a variable name or something and throw an error. So if your intention is to input a string there, you declare it using double or single quotes. So the next data type we have, it's called the Boolean data type. The Boolean data type. Boolean data type is a true or false data type. It's a true or false data type. True or false. The true or false data type. Now, you use this data type in cases where okay, like you want to say, okay, for instance, your typical login page that you're logging into. If I open the website you designed, for example, if I open the website you designed about school, now, if I'm not a student of your school, I shouldn't be able to log into your student portal. Shouldn't be able to log into your student portal, right? Now you can come up with an algorithm that checks. Once I click a button, it will say, is this person a student? If it's true, go to this place. If false, go to this place. So that true or false statement is enabled because JavaScript understands the Boolean data type. The Boolean data type, the result it presents is true or false. The result is true or false, saying that if this is true, do this, if this is false. And most times it works with a conditional statement. Please pardon me mentioning these things without explaining them. It works with a condition. Conditional means if something is like this, do like this. If this is like this, if this happens, do like this. So the Boolean data type is also an important data type in JavaScript. I just want you say third data type. It has the value is majorly true or false. If you assign true to any value, it will take it to be a Boolean. If you assign false to a value, it will take it to be a Boolean. I can do something like let is he a student equal true. I've assigned the variable called is he a student to true. So anywhere I'm working and I want to use the value true, I can just put is he a student there. I hope I'm not confusing us.
No, you're not.
Okay. So, but for now, what I just wanted to do is we have a data type called Boolean in JavaScript that results in a true or a false. So let me go to the next one. Another data type in JavaScript called null, the null value. The null value. The null value is more like an empty data type. Okay, just like this one I defined here. Exactly. On line 3, I have a null value here. Because I have not assigned any value to this variable. As it stands now, it's the value is a null because there's nothing. Sorry, it's not a null. Sorry. The null is like a value that you have to define on your own. If you want to define a null, all you need to do is to write null here and you define the null value. It's a value that you have to define on its own because there are two types that are confusing at times. We have null and we have another data type called undefined. We have another one called undefined. This one, the statement I was making before, this one is undefined because I have not assigned a value to this variable. I only declared the variable. So on line 3, number of students is undefined. But on line 4, I defined it. If I remove this line 4, so I remove line 4, and I try to alert number of students. Let's see what we get. Yes. Let's see. See, it returns undefined. It means that I have not defined this number of students. So an undefined variable type is, and this helps us a lot when we're trying to debug your JavaScript code. Because sometimes your code returns something, say this variable is undefined or something undefined. That should tell you that you have to go back and check, meaning that you've declared the variable quite all right, but you didn't assign it to anything. You didn't assign it a value. That is why it is returning undefined. It is quite different from null. It is different from null. Null is more like empty or does not or contains nothing. So if you want to declare a variable that does not contain anything, now the difference is that if you're running a script or if you're running a program, if you assign the value of null to a variable, it will not throw an error because it will treat null as if the object is empty, is 0. It will not tell you that you didn't assign anything to it. But unlike, instead of stating that number of students is 50, it will just assume that number of students is 0. Let's try it now. Let's say number of students. Try to explain the difference between null and undefined. They look very much alike and sometimes can be very confusing. But I trust as we go ahead, you understand it. It also returns null. Null stands for, as I said before, it's like empty. It's like 0. Nothing is occupying this space. But undefined means it was never even given a value before. In most cases, undefined will throw an error for you and tell you that this variable has not been attached a value. So, but don't confuse yourself with the difference between the both of them. You understand? I promise you, when I say you understand, I know I'm saying so. Because even me, when I started, it was difficult for me to differentiate between these things. But as you start working with them, working with examples, you understand how they how they apply. We're just going through the basics for now. Okay, so we've done number, we've done string, which those ones are a little bit straightforward. We've done boolean, true or false. We've done null, we've done undefined. Another one I want us to look at is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another variable type, data type we'll look at is called the array data type. Array data type. The array data type is one of the data types we'll be using most of the time when it comes to JavaScript. We're using it a lot when we come to JavaScript. Array means a set of values that are grouped together using separated by commas using squared brackets. Let me give you a clear example. Let's say I want to declare an array. I'll say let's maybe I have a good example. In our class, we have names of students, and I want to declare these names of students in an array format. Array helps us declare them in a way that's where we can manipulate and arrange them. For instance, name of students. Imagine if I have to be declaring name of students. One, I assign a variable to the name of the first student. Say name of the first student. I call these students, say Ken. Assign a variable to name of, which means name of student 1 is Ken. Name of student 2 is Mary. Name of student 3. Just imagine I have to be doing this for all the students in my class. It will be a little bit cumbersome to work with. The name of student 2, say Mary. Yeah. More student 2, I say Mary. Student 3. Okay, now I'm doing this for all the students in my class. What if I have a container that can just take the names of these students and assign them to one variable? That is where the array comes in. So of things I can now say, let's array. You don't have to call it array, you can call it anything. You can just say, okay, name of students. Let me use name of students. Name of students. Name of students. I just open an array. This is how you present an array. The first student's name is Ken. I say Ken. Remember that because their names are strings, I have to use quotes to represent them inside quotes. Sorry. All right. So the name of the first student is Ken, and the name of the second student is Mary. Name of the third student is Ben. Now, this is more comfortable because I have just one variable name that carries the name of all the students arranged in an array that, as you will find out later, can be manipulated, worked with to get me what I want, instead of storing them separately. And you know, if you do this, you're taking more space because you're creating memory for each of the students. Well, here you're just assigning them to one memory space, which is name of students, and putting everything inside an array. So this is called an array in JavaScript. Note that you can have anything inside an array. You can have boolean, you can have numbers, you can have one. If I'm writing a number, I don't need to put it inside. The quotes. Remember, I can have one, I can have boolean, can have the word true, which is a boolean, or inside an array. But as we all know, an array should solve one particular problem. For now, I need an array of my students, so I don't need other variables inside. All I just need an array of all my students. Is it clear, please, up to this point? Before I move to the next one.
Yes.
So we just learned about array, how it's written. Basically, what we are doing today is just to know how an array is represented and how these are represented and stuff. And if you can know this, we're good to go. All right, so another data type I want us to look into is called the object data type. Object data type. The object data type, just like we have an array. I can say the object data type is a little bit improvement from the array data type. Why do I say so? Remember I say an array now, this my array solves one problem. It takes the number of my students and it puts them together such that I have the name of my students inside a memory space. What if I want to do something like okay, I want to have the name of my students and their corresponding, maybe their total, their cumulative scores for last semester or their cumulative score. I want to have their name and their score for my students. Now, that is where the object comes in. I want to have an object that contains the name of my student and the score of that student for that student. Name of a student and the score for that student. Let's say let me take Ken for example. I want a data type that can hold both his name and his score. That is where an array comes in. So for array, you can do the variable name is left to you. You can choose any variable name, but most times it's advisable to choose variable name that can relate with what you're trying to save. So in this case, I can say I'm trying to save 10 score. 10 score. I can say let's score for Ken. Okay. 1, 2. Now in declaring an object, this is what we do. Use the curly braces in this case. Curly braces. Use the curly braces. And you're trying to declare a name. Ken's name. Ken's name. Remember, name is a string, so I must use a string. Ken. Then I'm trying to also get his score. Ken's score. His score is maybe 50. This is a number. So this is his name and his score. So I've been able to declare Ken's name and Ken's score. Save it in a variable. So this one is for Ken. So these are the 7 basic data types and how they are represented. This is string data type represented like this. We have the number data type, which we had before. Said number, just number. It can be 100, it can be negative, can be decimal, and in as much as it's an integer, it's good to go. Then we have okay. Then we have number, we have bowling, we have, if I save, say, okay, I've not demonstrated bowling, let me demonstrate it for us. Let's say I want to save this Ken a boy or something. I can just do something like this. Ken a boy. And I say true. Okay. So in my alert now, what I want to do, I will just say let me say my alert, I do something like Ken is a boy. Ken is a boy. See. Okay, so you can ask, I can ask a question, is Ken a boy? And put this is Ken a boy because I assigned it the value of true, but if I change it to false, it will display false. To display false. Just to show you how the data type is accepted because it's a data type. The boolean is a data type in JavaScript, so it understands that false. You see, when I wrote the false, I didn't put it inside a string, and it knows that it's a boolean, it's not a string, so it's accepted. Unlike others that I have to put them in string for them to work, but because it recognizes booleans and it knows that true or false values are booleans in JavaScript types. So, do we have any question, please?
There's
Yes,
no question from me. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so now we have the declaring the variables. We have calling them. Then this alert, what does it really do? Can is it that the things we are calling will not be displayed without the alert?
Yeah, to answer your question. Now, JavaScript is why anything what you for now you're declaring these things, you've not told them to do anything. You need an interface to see your work. So for now, alert does that for us. What JavaScript does, JavaScript has a special relationship with HTML where it can manipulate your browser to display something from the JavaScript. But we are not at that now. We'll get to that. Why I introduce alert? Alert is like, let's see what we are doing to know if it's working. So that is what the alert does for now, just for us to see what we are doing. But if you want to further, okay, another one, just to see what we are doing. So that is what the alert does. All these things are JavaScript syntax. Well, how would you know you're correct? How do you, of course, you want to see what you're doing. Just like what we are doing HTML. As you work, as you change your value, you see it displayed. But JavaScript runs on the browser. And if you want JavaScript to run, you have to plug in, you have to manipulate something called DOM to see what you're doing to reflect on your HTML, which we will get to. In order for us to see what we're doing so far, that was why I introduced this alert. Alert is more like a method in JavaScript that runs JavaScript on your browser, allows you to see what you're doing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Right. Another way, instead of using alert, another one I want to introduce is called console log. Console log. Now, what does console log do? The same thing alert does, but instead of now showing you what you're doing on your browser, console log shows on your when you inspect your page, JavaScript shows you what you're doing. So that can you see this line? Can you see false? Let me change. That's okay, Nemos. And this is what you should get used to. Because if there is an error, this is where you see it. The other error I talked about before, that when we attempted to change name of school, let's do it again and see what we'll see here now. Let me attempt to change name of school. If you don't want to use alerts, which it's not really, it's not something that is recommended, you can use your console log for now to see to display your values, what you do in JavaScript. So you can see what happened here. See the error we have. It says compute type error. Say assignments to constant variable at script is already assigned to a constant variable, so you can't reassign to it. and it's telling you where the error came from. It's saying your script.js on line 21, which is what we have here. Can you see? So this is your friend. This your console is your friend. It's in JavaScript, you use it a lot because it will tell you if you have errors anywhere. So you can console log as many things as you want to console log. Let's console log another thing. Let's console log say let's console log. Because this is our guide, let's see, that's error there. Everything should be working fine now. So it's showing you the name of the school and the number of the students. So if you don't want to use alerts, you can also use console log to inspect your work, to see the results of your work as you move along for now. But I would recommend you always use console log because you have to get used to console log so that you know how to read errors when your code is throwing errors.
So, sorry, when you say console log, what does it mean? To probe and check if everything is okay with the statement or what?
Because for now, we've not started changing DOM and seeing the results of our code in JavaScript. The only way we can see the results of our code for now is to use the console log. The console log is like it's a development tool that can allow you to run JavaScript code. You can even run JavaScript code on inside this your console. For instance, let's say, look at what will happen here. Let's say let A equal to okay. Let's B equal 3, C equal see what happens. Let A equal to, let B equal 5, then I need C equal to A plus B equal to 5. Can you see it?
Yeah.
So you can actually run JavaScript code on your console, which your browser provides for you. Because JavaScript is a programming language, it's not configured to run directly on the web browser unless we start manipulating the DOM, which is what we'll do. It's a mandatory thing for us to do. It's part of what we'll be doing. But for this level, to see what we are doing, to make sure our codes are working out, so that we don't just write codes and we don't know what they do. You can write all these things I wrote here, I can write them here. So you can see, just perform this arithmetic, this calculation for us. Let A equal this. So I can, that the example was, and I can say, let number of current students equal to this, let number of future students equal to this, and say C equal to A plus B. So which means anytime B variable changes, anytime B changes, my C automatically changes. I don't have to start, I don't have to go ahead and start writing everything again from scratch. So just get flow along. For what we've done today is to understand the data types in JavaScript. We've understood the data types in JavaScript, which is what I want you to know. Now, this is an extra in order to make you see what you're doing, to know if it's correct. You can use alert to display it. You can use console.log. So once you assign a value to a variable, you want to see the value of that variable. Just console log it to know if you're correct. So if you're making a mistake, it will throw an error here so you know where your mistake is coming from. Like in this case where we did this and it told us that there is a mistake. Throw another error. This is the error. So
okay, so these yellow bars under the red part or on the console, what are they for?
No, that one is my own work with React. You might not even see that on your
Okay.
I don't see that. So I don't want you to one thing I want us to do one thing I want you to do before we've learned today, just master the variable types on your own. Assign values to variable. Assign values to variable on your own and see how to work with them and see if they'll be displayed on the console. If you can do that, you're good to go. Don't need to break your head with how do I get it to show on my page and stuff for now. If you can do that, you've succeeded as far as this class is concerned. One more thing I would like to also do before we go is okay, just do that for now and we'll be good to go. So we've learned about an array. So that subsequent classes, when I say, okay, want to represent this with an array, you already know what an array is. An array is just a data type that has, okay, I forgot to mention that an array has key and value pairs. Now, this name is the key. Why this is the value? This is the key and this is the value. So the variables are stored in a key and value format, like name, Ken, score, 50. You can also put age, 28, as many variables as you want, but they are stored in key and value. So those information are now stored inside this score for Ken as an object. Why? And as an object, while an array does not have key value pair, but there is one thing an array has. An array has index. These things are stored as indexes. Like this Ken is occupying a space in this array called 0. This one 1, this one 2. This one 0, this one 1, and this 2. Yeah. So, but for now, please just concentrate on understanding the various data types, how to assign variables, and you're good to go. If you can understand that one, I promise you that the next class will be far more easier for you. Your head is how it's going to be displayed on your browser and everything. You will get to the we reach an agreement? Because I know so many things will be going through your mind. How do I get this? Just understand these types of data so that when you see them, you know that, okay, this is what this data type is. This data type is a number data type. It's a string because it's represented like this. So when you see true or false, you know it's a boolean. When you see a null, you know null data type undefined. When you see data type that looks like this, say, oh, this is an array data type. See one that looks like this, say, oh, this an object data type. Are we good with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I want us to call it a day today and just want to practice on this. And then from the next class, we'll do some amazing stuff in this case.
So I want to make a request. I don't know. I've actually asked you this on a personal.
About the video, right?
No, not the video this time. Yeah, video is important. Okay. Since we are few now, I'm applying for the outreach internship. Okay. And I know the requirements are a lot because personally I have a deadline. That's why I'm taking a lot of these things seriously because I really need to learn these things. So I requested before if you could, since we are few now, if we could agree, that's depending on how free you are, if you could agree to give us an extra day besides just Saturdays.
You know, when we started this, we actually were
proposed
doing